Trains always had a way of calming me. Something about the steady rhythm of the tracks made it easier to think. That day, I was lost in my own world, music in my ears, staring out the window at the passing fields, when I noticed her. She was sitting by the window across the aisle, sketching in a notebook. She wore this oversized sweater that fell off one shoulder, and her dark curls framed her face like a halo. She looked effortlessly beautiful. I tried not to stare, but when she glanced up and caught my eye, I froze. Then she smiled. "You always look this serious?" she asked, her tone teasing. I chuckled awkwardly, pulling my headphones out. "Guess I got caught up in my thoughts." She nodded at my notebook, which was sitting unopened on my lap. Not much progress there. Her name was Elena, and by the time we reached the next station, we were talking like old friends. She had this way about her, like she could read you with a single glance, and somehow, it didn't feel invasive. It felt comforting. By the end of the ride, she'd written her number in my notebook, a little heart doodled beside it. We met again a week later, for coffee that turned into hours of walking through the city. She told me about her photography, her love for the way light danced across faces and landscapes. I told her about my writing, how I never seemed to finish anything. "You're too in your head," she said, nudging my arm. "You need someone to pull you out." She became that someone. The first time I went to her apartment, I remember being nervous. But the second I stepped inside, I felt at ease. Her place was small but full of life. Photos pinned to the walls, plants by the window, a half-finished cup of tea on the table. It smelled like lavender and something I couldn't place. We sat on her couch close enough that our knees brushed. She asked me about my favorite book, and somewhere between explaining the plot and losing myself in her gaze, I realized she was leaning in. Her kiss caught me off guard. Not because I didn't want it, but because it felt so natural, like it had been waiting to happen. Her lips were soft, her movements slow and deliberate, like she was savoring the moment. Time seemed to blur after that. Her hands found mine, her fingers threading through mine as she pulled me closer. She smelled like lavender and something warm, something uniquely her. We spent that night discovering each other in ways I didn't know were possible. Her touch was light but sure, her movements unhurried, like she wanted to memorize me. Every laugh, every whispered word, every lingering glance felt electric. I'd always been the one who held back, who hesitated, but with her it was different. She made me feel free, like I could let go of all the walls I'd built around myself. Afterward, we lay in her bed, tangled in each other, her head resting on my chest. I traced circles on her back, marveling at how someone so vibrant, so alive, had chosen to share her world with me. "You're quiet," she said, her voice muffled against my skin. "Just thinking," I admitted. She lifted her head to look at me, her dark eyes catching the faint glow of the streetlights outside. "About what?" "How I got this lucky," I said, and I meant it. She laughed softly, pressing a kiss to my collarbone. "You're not too bad yourself, you know." That night was the first of many. Elena became my muse, my partner, my everything. She pushed me to write more, to take risks, to believe in myself. And in her arms, I found a kind of peace I didn't know I'd been searching for. Now, whenever I ride a train, I think of her, of that first smile, that first kiss, that first night, of how she turned a simple journey into the greatest adventure of my life.